Intuition, gut feelings, using the third eye. This spirit information is filtered through our human bodies. However, some bits and pieces of spirit information get left behind. Welcome to Unfiltered. DeEtte Ranae is an unfiltered psychic medium and here to give you messages from spirit with no holds barred. DeEtte Ranae says it as she receives it. And here is your host of Unfiltered, DeEtte Ranae.
Well, hello, good evening at 6 o'clock on Tuesday. Yes, it is Unfiltered on WLTK-DB. I am not DeEtte Ranae. I am Deidre Sanford. DeEtte is out traveling this evening and has bestowed the honor upon me, or asked me if I would step into the honor of guest hosting the show for her this evening in her absence. And what an honor it is. I am so excited to be here and to see all of you. Come on in, say hello, let us know, or let me know that you're hanging around out there and checking it out. We're here from 6 to 7. As usual for your readings. I am super excited to see what pops in. Well, there's Tim. Good evening, Mr. Tim. It's nice to see you as well. I know it's Tuesday, not Wednesday. It confuses me a little bit too. But I'll still be back tomorrow doing self-care. What's paranormal got to do with it at 10 o'clock? In the meantime, you're stuck with me for the next hour. So let's make the most of it. Hi, Christina. So the last couple weeks, I don't know about you guys, but I've really been feeling the fallout from this new moon lunar eclipse that happened on the same day and seemed to make everybody run a little bit amok, whether they were aware or not. Customers at the store I work in during the day were odd. They were very different. Communication was weird. Usually it's, a nice chit chat, a nice little visit. And all of a sudden, nobody's being all that nice. Everybody's been turned a little bit upside down by this. And, normally we look at new moons as opportunities for manifestation and focusing on goals and what we want to bring in. But tied to this lunar eclipse, it was a lot the opposite. It was about cleaning up final details and figuring out what we need to let go of, which is usually a full moon energy kind of thing. So the energies themselves were a little bit in opposition to each other, I think, in that respect. I don't know, you guys, pop your comments in here and let me know what you've been dealing with or how you handled the last couple of weeks since the new moon and the lunar eclipse, because it's been a little wonky. The energies are tapering off. I don't know. I was reading some things by people who know more about astrology than I do. And they were talking about this last event, these two events together were almost as powerful as 3 full moons at once, if not just as powerful as 3 moons. So it's no wonder we all lost our mind and our grounding and started losing our train of thought, maybe felt a little bit imbalanced, a little bit scattered. But to me, that's kind of what fall is about too. Yeah, Tim, it was wonky. Taking it from your comment saying, I wondered what that was, that it kind of affected you as well. It's up to us to acknowledge it, to look at it and ask, what's really going on? Is this really my emotional state? Or is there something deeper that triggered this emotional state to come on for me so that we can figure it out, get in there and work with it a little bit? And that's part of what we do with the readings, right? Having a little bit of trouble with clarity or a lot of trouble with clarity, reach out, ask the question, what's really going on? What's the question that's still maybe rolling through your mind, especially if it's recently come up? It's probably still pretty new and you're still trying to puzzle through it. Let's see what we can do to figure it out and find some new direction. I try not to get as affected by these things, but I'm still human. I'm still 70% water, just like everybody else. I'm affected by the moons, but it's my job to realize that, hey, wait, this sudden shift is about something bigger than just me. because so many of us were affected. So I even had to drop back and figure out, why am I feeling scattered? Why are things making me more anxious than usual, causing me a little bit more stress than usual? I had a decision to make. Um, it's been on my plate for about a week. I got new information and an opportunity showed up that I really just knew the first time I heard about it was the right thing to do. But I had to wait and play with it in my head a little bit. And it popped up on my plate again, seemingly out of nowhere, but we know how those things work. And so I had to sit with it even more. And I sat on it for a few days. And yesterday I made the decision. I kind of held my nose and jumped in the water with both feet and committed to following through on this project, right? I mean, we're supposed to be saying yes to new opportunities. And after that decision and the execution of the 3 parts of accepting this opportunity, I went through the process, right? Second guessing it. Did I do the right thing? Is this really going to pan out the way that I'm hoping it will, the way that I think it will? Hey, Sarah, thanks for saying hello. It's great to see you. And it took me a long while to work through it. But several hours later, someone had done something very nice and kind as a wonderful gesture. And it made me stop. And it made me realize, wow, that was such a kind, sweet gesture. It was such a blessing to receive that. And as that thought went through my mind in that moment, I realized I had flipped my gratitude switch to the off position. I wasn't really paying attention. I was caught up in the emotionality of what was happening. I wasn't being present. And that single gesture, to this person, it might have been something small and they meant it intentionally as a very nice gesture. But to me, it was huge. And it was a turning point for me in my day and in my thought processes, in my emotional state. And it made me really stop and take stock. And it occurred to me that instead of being in that state of gratitude, being grateful for the opportunity that I finally chose to accept, being grateful for another blessing someone had sent to me right on the heels of that decision, I got caught up in the emotionality and the stress. But once I went back to that gratitude switch, everything changed. Put that switch back in the on position, and internal, you can feel that internal shift when your emotional state changes, and you can see that it really frees up your mind to be open, to be more present and more attached to what's actually happening right now, not what I did several hours ago or what I might do tomorrow or even 3 hours from now, but being present in that very moment completely freed me up to accept freely and readily what was happening and the blessings that were being sent my way. So that's kind of part of the trick, isn't it? So as we're struggling with decisions that we may be trying to make, the new moon and the lunar eclipse are about transition, right? That lunar eclipse really brings that power in. What are you going to let go of? What do you not need to be dragging along with you into the future, into the coming months? This is the time to sit and take stock and identify that and ferret that out. And that's part of what we're here for today. Maybe the question you have on your mind has absolutely nothing to do with some new transition and some new letting go or release of something, but that's what we're here for. So feel free to pop your questions and your comments in that chat. I know Sarah and Tim and Christine, I'm glad that you're here and have let me know that you're hanging out there listening tonight. You just never know when those nice little blessings are going to pop up and really put you in a much more positive state, right? When we function in that level of gratitude in the present moment instead of 5 minutes ago, an hour from now, we're really able to not just connect with the person we're speaking with at the moment or whatever task we're performing at the moment, but we're better able to connect with ourselves. We're not just a clear conduit for other people, but we're a clearer conduit for us. And when we do that, our vibration lifts up a little bit. It's kind of like, when you're stuck in the emotionality of something. When I was stuck in my turmoil yesterday, I know I was really low vibe and dragging. And I could feel the weight, and some of my coworkers could see the weight of the thought process and the emotionality and how it was just, I wasn't quite my upbeat, fun little self. I was a little more draggy. I was a little less hesitant to engage, even with people I know and work with every week, every day. But then the switch flipped. And I was more comfortable in my own skin again. And I had a clearer ability to see what my options really were. And one of those options was to be in a place of gratitude and accept those shifts. Hey, Michelle, thanks for popping in. How are you this evening? We're just hanging out and chatting. I know you guys are all logging in, expecting to see DeEtte's beautiful face. You got me instead. DeEtte should be back next week, as far as I know. I don't keep her schedule, but as far as I know, she'll be back on next week. But in the meantime, I am here and more than happy to help. And maybe the little story that I just shared about taking a moment to step back and allow some little fun, pleasant thing or a larger, nice, big blessing that just landed on my plate allowed me to just kind of change where I was mentally and emotionally, change my vibration, pull it up a little bit higher so that I can engage more appropriately and more fully with the people around me at that time. Transition never feels good when we're standing in the middle of it, does it? It's tough. And sometimes it helps alleviate the discomfort of being in transition just by understanding that it's transition. It's okay. We don't have to have all of the answers while we're standing in transition. But once we accept where we are, it eases up the stress, the discomfort, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional. They're all tied together anyway. That discomfort seems to kind of go away. It's like, or lessen anyway. It's like that question that you keep spinning around in your head and spinning around in your head, and you can't find traction. You can't move closer to that answer. It's just not coming to you. Or the trivia question, right? You know the answer somewhere back in your head and you cannot find it. And the harder you work to find that answer, the further away from you it can seem to run. But then you wake up the next morning and before your feet are on the floor, you're like, bam, there's that information. It's right there in the front of my head. Because sometimes the harder we run and chase and look for an answer to whatever's going on, the further away it can seem. It's almost like some crazy circular race, right? Where the person that you're racing with might be ahead of you by 60 paces. And the harder you run to catch up and overtake that person to win the race, that person keeps going just as strong and they keep their lead in front of you. When you change your mindset and you're not focused on the goal, but you focus on where you are, the rest of it kind of dissolves a little bit. And it becomes easier, less heavy to try to process and try to find your answer. That's sometimes when you need to take a moment within yourself to sit and be still and listen to and hear and chase nothing. Just be still. Give yourself a clearer playing field instead of pressing it all. Tim says, I'm reinforcing in nearly every recent conversation he's having with his wife. And it's interesting how those things pop up, isn't it, Tim? I didn't know I was going to come on here and say something tonight that was going to reinforce a conversation that you've been already having. It's just kind of where I'm at. And I don't separate myself from the pack, all of us being the pack. My emotions, my thought processes, they're not very different from anyone else's. We all go through those processes in our individual way, but we all go through the processes. And that's why we do things like, vent to our friends, give ourselves an opportunity to journal so we can go back and look at those thoughts later and think, oh, so glad I figured that out. Why was I so tied in knots over whatever that was I was journaling about? Christina has also been trying to see the best of things. That's awesome. It is easy to see the negative. I agree, Christina. She's been trying to find the positive. And it does. It helps so much. Thank you for reinforcing what I was saying and sharing that has worked well for you also. And Sarah, Wow, you had a lot of questions going on lately. I'm so glad that the universe literally delivered those answers for you today. As these energies of the lunar eclipse and the moon start receding, because they were powerful. Usually it's like 3 days. We're still caught up in this aftermath energy, and it's finally tapering off 3 days later. This is a lot later. It's neat when the decks finally get cleared, we can step out of whatever crazy energy it is that's out there and sit back a little bit more easily, hopefully a lot more easily in our own energy, so that we can just disconnect with everything external and go a little deeper within and find our own answers. Tim, yeah, you had mentioned to me that your wife had passed several years ago, and I'm sorry for your loss, but it sounds as though you've got such an amazing connection that you're able to talk with us so freely about this and share your relationship with her after she's crossed. Um, and that the writings that are available available to you to review have been so helpful and so beneficial to you. It's amazing. Yeah, I know. Mars is going retrograde. And it's just like, it feels like the universe is kind of pummeling us, right? But really, again, if we drop back and we get out of the, oh my God, the universe is really beating the crap out of me today mode. I can't. I'm going to retreat. That's fine. Retreat. Get in there. Feel the emotions that are being set off. Feel that space of transition, that space of, oh my gosh, I really don't know where I stand in my own space. I can go this way, I can go that way. There's so many opportunities and so much going on. But when we stop and we take an opportunity to talk with ourselves or talk with our own higher self in a quiet, relaxed way, we can find our own way. We can at least find our own safety ground on which to stand while we're working through the process. And yeah, it's a roller coaster. It always is. In 2 words, I need a new bumper sticker for my car. Transition sucks. It's hard. It's usually not easy. And sometimes it's ugly cry messy, but you got to do it. I know for me, if I don't, it lasts longer. It's just like any other emotional thing that's going on, and we don't allow ourselves to feel the emotion of the process or the emotion that results from an event. And we like cram it down and we ignore it. We're like, oh yeah, I'll deal with that later. It's still there. It's still lurking. And it sometimes pops up on us out of nowhere. You're like, whoa, what was that? Well, that was the leftover emotional stuff from that other thing. And it's back again because it hasn't been dealt with. And when it comes back up, it's usually bigger because we've put more stuff on top of it. It's like that snowball that goes down the side of the mountain. It keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it's an avalanche. We don't need avalanches. But that's how we learn too, that we need to go back and deal with those emotions. It's crazy. Once we get some of those emotions cleared or we step away from the chaos, and often the chaos is universal. It's energy's hitting everybody. We step away and we get in our own little space. We can kind of chill out. Yeah, the question is still there or the problem is still there. But once we get ourselves simmered down a little bit, so to speak, we have a better opportunity to kind of just pay attention and be present within ourselves. I find it necessary to take that time. And I'm sure those of you who already practice these things, Sarah and Tim, Christina, I'm sorry, I don't know you well enough. I'd love to assume that you give yourself that opportunity. You guys all have found the same thing. And I love that you're saying, hey, I'm right there with you. Like, again, I'm not any different from anybody else. Work the process. And it is a process. And you can start anywhere. You can start by ignoring it and then facing it when it pops up. Who knows? I had my own questions throughout the last couple of weeks, and I put them out there, reached out to a friend and said, oh my gosh, this is what I'm thinking of. I don't know which way to go. And they said, you'll figure it out. Great. Yeah, I really did. I was taking the easy way out. I kind of wanted an answer. And I respect the fact that I didn't get one. I had to do my own work to find the answer. but you got opportunities to ask questions. That's why we folks like us exist. Shoot them up there in the screen. Let's see what we get. Fall for me is always a time of reflection. If we go with, again, what's happening in the world around us, it's fall. And I know DeEtte talked about this a little bit last night or yesterday morning. Sorry, yesterday morning. I watched the replay, so it was nighttime to me. She talked about it yesterday from the perspective of what it means to her, how fall used to make her sad because the trees were dying and they weren't really dying, but the leaves were dying and falling off. And yeah, we had beautiful colors, but it was still a pretty melancholy time. And I certainly understood and felt some of what she was talking about with the change of the season. And interestingly, fall has always been my favorite season. Halloween has always been my favorite holiday, just before Thanksgiving. Those two take precedence. And Halloween and fall for me, if you follow the wheel of the year and talk about the new year as DeEtte did last night as well, then we have clean slates that we can look forward to. Clear the playing field. Step away from the chaos. Give ourselves a moment. When we look at nature, it's not, the trees aren't really dying. The plants aren't really dying, although they look like they are. They still have roots. They're still functional. There's still nutrients that are being pulled from the earth that are feeding those plants. Excuse me, so that they're ready to come back and greet us with their smiling, flowery faces, woo, and all those new colors in the springtime. And that's kind of what I feel about fall and the wheel of the year, is it's a time to go within and a time to reflect and to maybe rearrange some things, figure out who we want to be. It's a transitional period universally. So lunar eclipse, this new moon, the fall season itself, everything around us is saying, it's time to go seek some answers, ask yourself some questions. The trees are dropping their leaves. They're letting go of what it doesn't need right now. It doesn't need leaves in the wintertime. But it's going to need leaves come spring. And they're going to be new leaves, new life, new opportunities. And I share that sentiment with the New Year idea that DeEtte was talking about yesterday on her show. But what kinds of things are y'all looking forward to bringing forth for yourselves in the next couple of months? What kind of new stuff do you want to have for yourself, for your life, for your family, for your job? Or maybe you don't want to make changes. Maybe you just need the opportunity to be in gratitude for what you have and sit quietly with the gratitude so you can attract more of it. But what's shifting in your worlds? Letting go of things is never really all that easy. We still have to hold them in our hands and look at them from every perspective. I'm looking at this pen and I know exactly where it came from. I got a whole jar of pens over here, whole jar of them. I don't really know where they all came from. I suppose if I looked, I might figure it out, or why I bought a specific pen. This particular pen was gifted to me by a woman who had been traveling out of the country. And I don't know her that well. We don't have what I would call a personal relationship, but we have an acquaintanceship. So I was a little stunned. And she did it in a way where she was a little uncomfortable giving. She showed it to me and she said, oh, well, this is what I have for people now that I've come back from my trip. And I looked at it and I said, well, it's got a great weight to it. And I wrote something with it. I said, the ink flows beautifully. That's really a nice pen. And I left it sitting there. I was confused. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a great pen that you've been giving to everybody since you came back. Thanks for showing it to me. She was insulted and I felt badly. She came back to me later. She said, Deidre, you left your pen. And I said, well, I didn't realize it was mine and you were giving it to me. I love that pen. Thank you so much. So we need to be comfortable and confident in our giving and in our receiving instead of, well, this is the pen I bought for people. It was, hey, I brought you this pen. Now I would have understood, but I also wasn't present enough wasn't listening enough to understand that this was her uncomfortable way of saying, I brought you a pen from my trip. So I don't think I ever want to let go of this pen. I'm weird that way. This pen is very sentimental to me because it represents my lesson in being more present and my lesson in being more open to receiving. Sarah wants to do new business runnings and pay off her debt. And Sarah, I'm super excited for you because I know there's been a lot going on. And you've had to take a step back from building this business that you're so committed to and that you love so much and that you are so very, very good at. I've known you for a long time, girl. And I know that once you put your feet back on the ground and proclaim that this is your time to start your new business, you're going to take off like gangbusters. This time out and the rebuilding that you're going through is, man, I hate to say this. It's almost like I'm seeing a cocoon, right? So the, goes into the cocoon and it gets all gooey and yucky and falls apart. And then it rebuilds itself and comes out like the beautiful butterfly. And that's what I always think of. Actually, the vision, I already knew that this was going to go crazy. But as we talk about this tonight, that's what they're showing me is the cocoon vision. And gooey and mushy and rebuilding and putting your parts back together or growing new parts. And there are so many new layers to the work that you do that are just going to come flying through when you put your feet back on the floor. You are going to hit the ground running, girl, and I can't wait to see it. It's so exciting. I know it's difficult. And I've watched you with your positive statements, your positive outlooks, and we've talked on the days when things didn't feel quite so positive for you. And yeah, there's still some pieces that are going to come together. I think you're going to put them all together in an amazing puzzle, and it's going to be gangbusters. I'm super excited to see where you go from here. And that's really the fun part, right? We get to take fall and winter, just as everything outside is blanketed in the snow. It's not necessarily freezing through, right? It's being fed. You're welcome. It's being fed with the nutrients of the earth and the water that the snow has, and it's being protected by the ice-crusted snow or some of the ice that's on the outside of it so that it can do its thing, so that it can process and re-relate and come back out a new thing in the spring. So give yourself some time to sit back and think about what it is you're going to let go of and how you're going to rebuild it. Sarah, I know that was kind of not really a direct question, but it was couched in your statement when you said you were still figuring it out. So I just took it and ran with it. I hope you don't mind. I didn't want to give away too many personal details. That's not fair. You didn't invite me to do that, but I'm so glad. I've already answered your concerns, Tim. Wow. Not only did I reinforce your wife, but everything DeEtte has told you recently, both publicly and in private. That's kind of astonishing. I am so, so glad that I could serve that purpose today just by sitting here blabbering away about what my thoughts are on fall and transition. This lunar eclipse being a time to go deep inside and figure out, what do you want to let go of? What does this transition want to be for you? Or what do you want to make this transition for yourself? That's really cool. Thank you. Hi, Ola. Oh my goodness. Ola, my friend, thank you for coming in to say hello to us, but I'm not real sure that Sarah's going to be hitting your inbox anytime soon. You know, you're introducing your readings and dogs? Yeah, no, the health stuff is going to come. I think we've talked about this before. As you relax back into reopening and redoing, stepping back into your reading work, whether it's mediumship readings or psychic readings, so many more people are going to start showing up with health symptoms that come into play that fall under the certification that you've worked so hard to earn. Sorry, I have this picture of your head and you're like cramming all this stuff into your head and your head just kind of goes like a balloon. which actually literally kind of did happen, didn't it? This is your opportunity to put those pieces back together and stop cramming more stuff in that brain of yours so that you can sort out those pieces and look at them again and put them together in a different way. It's going to be challenging, but I think it's a challenge that you're going to enjoy. Stay open, because there are some dynamics in there that you're backing away from. Like there's an instant, oh my God, I can't do it that way. But it doesn't have to be exactly that way. Open, wow, here's a phrase that we know really well. Open your paradigm. That used to frustrate me. So let me say it this way: broaden your thinking so that the pieces of the puzzle, when they show up and they look so separate and you can't figure out how the one jagged edge is going to meet the other, they fit together at a different jagged edge. There's a different angle to how some of these things come together. And that gets sorted out as you go through the process that you're currently going through. Christina is hoping to move on from her past and process grief from a big loss, find a balance somehow. Yeah. Everyone seems to think you should. Well, what do you think, Christina? Fall's been super hard the last 2 years. You're hoping to change that pattern. I'm serious, my friend, when I say to you, what do you think? And that kind of falls into what I was talking about before, as far as stepping away from all of the chatter of the universe, of the world, of the people, the other people in your space. You don't necessarily need to move on from your past. That phrasing itself can make it more difficult to allow new things in. How about if you shift that thought process to find a new relationship with your past? That might be a little bit easier jumping off point for bringing in these changes that you're saying that you're open to. And yeah, it's going to take some work. And you've done a lot of that work already. I'm seeing like these big trash cans, like the huge 50-gallon trash cans, and they're full and they're like stacking up and they're representing all of the work that you've been doing. But the trash cans that are here now, those are in the background. That represents the work that you've already done, from the work that kept you mostly sane at the very beginning of this shift, this process, the departing of your loved one. And I'm very sorry for your loss. The early stages, there are no trash cans. There's nowhere to put anything. But those trash cans that I'm seeing behind you are behind you. And man, those are some big ass trash cans. Sorry. But the new trash cans they're standing at the ready for the reforming, the reshaping, and the stepping forward with different relationships to things in a new way to live your life, incorporating the past rather than leaving it behind you. Those trash cans are smaller. Keep doing your work because you've got it. And it's like one day you take out one of those new little trash cans, you fill it up, but you take it out and you're like, oh, I don't have any more trash cans. And a light bulb goes off over your head and you have a new perspective. And the doors open because you've found your new perspective. So as you keep doing this work and chipping away at the pieces that you don't need to be dragging forward with you, you get an opportunity to put your feet on the ground. You get an opportunity to put them down on the ground firmly. I'm sorry that your fall has been so difficult. Is it feeling as difficult this year, though, as it has the last 2 years, Christina? Because I feel like it's lightened up for you considerably this year. It's not quite as difficult for you to face fall. And as we get deeper into fall, as we move into closer to holiday season, those are different challenges, but they're not as heavy as they were. And you give yourself an opportunity. Good. I'm glad it's not as heavy for you this year. You give yourself an opportunity to step out a little bit more in joy and a little bit less guarded. And yes, I saw your comment about waiting for the other shoe to drop. The shoe already dropped. And you're standing in a state of, oh my God, what horrible thing is going to happen next? What if it doesn't? What if it doesn't? How many days have you been standing still waiting for the other shoe to drop and nothing has happened? Give yourself an opportunity to recognize that that shoe can always be there and you can tie it to anything you want, but it's not always going to drop. So what are you doing with yourself in the meantime? You need to give yourself an opportunity to step out from under that shoe that you think is going to fall on your head. Don't stand still and let it fall on your head. Take a step forward. When the shoe drops, it won't fall on your head. It'll fall behind you. And it won't be as cataclysmic as you're thinking it might be. It gets lighter for you moving forward. You said it's already lighter now than it has been the last couple of years. But as you move forward over the next several weeks and get into the holiday season, it's still even lighter. And you have an opportunity to view things a little bit differently. And I hope you'll step into that opportunity, because that's what helps you really make a turning point. And then you can see new opportunities that are there for you. It doesn't matter what everyone thinks you should do. I still suggest that you honor yourself where you are, but set the timer. Give yourself an opportunity to marinate in the yucky, and then give yourself permission to step forward, step out from underneath that shoe and enjoy something. It's something small, something like go ahead and step out the front door and take a walk down the sidewalk and look at the trees and see the beautiful colors of the trees and enjoy watching those colors change. As you allow yourself to enjoy and accept the joy from the little things, that joy starts to creep up a little bit more often, and you have an opportunity to move a little bit further forward. That's what opens the new doors to the new opportunities, the new shifts. There is a lot on the horizon for you. But the block, as I'm seeing you looking down the road, standing outside, you don't have to look that far forward, because that's the difficult part, right? That's what makes you feel like the shoe's going to drop. You can look to the side and see the orange in that tree and the red in that tree, and invite the colors, invite the happy, invite the things that bring you joy. You don't have to just sit with those things that are so heavy and difficult. It sounds like a big process. I'm sorry, it sounds like a little process. But as you practice the small pieces, they kind of grow exponentially on their own. I'm glad it's not that bad for you this year, and really step away from underneath that shoe. Give yourself the opportunity to step forward. It's not dishonoring anyone to step forward and enjoy your time. It's not honoring the memory. Grief is a long process, and it's different for everyone. And sometimes we feel as though we need to sit stuck in our grief in order to honor the person, because if we're enjoying ourselves and enjoying our lives, then we feel like we're not acknowledging the fact that they're not sitting next to you on this plane, enjoying that time as well. They want you to be happy. Give yourself the opportunity to step forward and step into the new happy, and you'll find little baby steps that allow you to do that. Go ahead and go listen to music. Did you kind of stop listening to music and enjoying just feeling the rhythm and the beat? Bring that back into your life a little bit. It's okay. Accept that. And Michelle wants to call in the perfect romantic partner for you. Oh, Michelle, that sounds like such exciting stuff. What are you doing to call that in for yourself? How open are you allowing yourself to be? Because you can't call in something new if you're still attached to something not new, right? Give yourself the opportunity to think about that for a few minutes. And none of us can really bring in new stuff until we figure out what we need to release to allow that in. And Michelle, it feels like you're looking on the horizon and there are some people out there that are interesting to you. Are you maybe weighing these new potential things that might be on the horizon for you against what you used to have? Because it's not going to be what you used to have, and it can't be what you want to bring in if you're still holding on to the energy of the things you don't want. So we need to clear that space and give yourself an opportunity. And see, that's perfect. I love that. Your comment popped up just as I said, clear that space, working on yourself to get rid of old patterns. That's beautiful. You're really giving yourself an opportunity to open up to new things. And as you do that work, you change your vibration. So you can't help but change what you're bringing in next. When we stay focused on other people, we don't work on ourselves. So congratulations, Michelle, on doing some of your own work so that you can change into the person and move closer to, the person that you want to be, to bring in this new energy that you're hoping to find in your next relationship. And there are some themes that are very interesting. Thank you guys for sharing your stories and your information. Christina, I'm so glad to hear that you're looking forward to the future. It's not always an easy path, is it? But you've done an awful lot of heavy lifting. You and Michelle are both making steps toward working toward what you're looking for next. Christina, letting go of some of your grief and allowing yourself to open up to the newer experiences, and Michelle working to get rid of your old patterns. We can't bring new stuff in if we keep carrying the past around with us. And it's so difficult to get to that point where we choose to let go of past things in order to make space for the new. That's really kind of fun stuff. Hey, I'm going to take a really quick break with y'all. This is Unfiltered with your guest host, DeEtte Sanford, and we'll be back with you on WLTK-DB in just a minute.
Ellie Weisensel's psychic medium is a medical intuitive that specializes as a body code practitioner. As an energy healer, Ellie offers additional services that allow her modalities to be intertwined with energetic healing. Within your subconscious lies information that knows everything about you and why you deal with specific conditions. The subconscious can be considered the blueprint to your entire body. With Ellie working physically with your subconscious mind, we detect what negative emotions are trapped and where they are stored within the body that is causing you your emotional and physical pain. This work is designed to remove imbalances and correct them energetically, getting to the root cause of why you have your condition, to help balance your body so it may heal itself. Your body is infinitely wise and wants to be in balance. The body code is not only gentle for humans, but it is also a gentle process to help animals. For more information, contact Ellie Weisensel at the website below.
And we're back. It's nice to see everyone who popped in here this evening just to kind of figure out what's going on. I know DeEtte's not here, and I'm really, really appreciative of the fact that y'all stuck around with me for the last 45 minutes. Thank you for that. And thank Christina, Michelle, Sarah, and Tim, all of you for sharing your thoughts and opening up, letting yourselves be a little bit vulnerable during our time together today. I appreciate the trust that you shared with me in doing that. Thank you. Emotion code, y'all. Coming back in from that commercial. I got to tell you, I have not personally met or worked with Ellie, but I did work with another emotion code practitioner. It's an amazing technique and modality. I have had fantastic results with the practitioner with whom I was working, who was on my show. I know Tim was a volunteer and got a mini clearing from that emotion code practitioner with whom we were working. I've seen Ellie on Chat with Charlie on Thursday mornings at 9 a.m. with Stephanie. She's just got such cool, warm energy. My thinking, and I just got to tell you, based on my prior exposure to Ellie as a person and a guest on a show and that modality itself, give it a look. It might be super interesting to figure it out. I had some physical aches and pains that have been chronic and they flare up. And I sat down with my emotion code practitioner over Zoom and said, hey, let's dig into this. Let's figure it out. I can tell you that I've had an 85-90% reduction in pain after doing that emotion code session. It's been almost a week, a little over a week. And I'm moving better. I feel better. My headaches are gone as a result of undoing that, the knots. So I just had to go ahead and plug that. I love the commercial that Ellie's there. I did not know that Ellie was an emotion code practitioner until I started seeing her advertising on the station. I know that she is also a psychic medium, and our psychic mediumship skills come into play when we do healing work with our clients. I did see someone else who's not actually in the chat say they were interested in some information, and I have a hard time reading for people that I already know. But there's more on the back burner for you, isn't there, my friend, than you've been saying, and you're not hiding it. It's just not ready to be shared publicly yet because all the details aren't in place, and it's amazing. There's so much more on the horizon that's coming in for you, opening new doors, stepping into new possibilities, more exposure. Like, I know you don't like to be in front of the camera, but you're going to do more of it, aren't you? You're hesitant, but do it. I'm going to put my hand on your back and I'm going to push you over that threshold and say, go do this, because you're meant for it. It's awesome. It's like a culmination of all of these other wonderful things that you've stepped into in the past and then have stepped back away from, taken some time out from. And that time off has been really, really productive for you in a lot of ways, so that as you step into these new opportunities, the playing field is a little bit clearer. Hesitation is not nearly as bad as it used to be. And you're feeling more prepared. Do it afraid. Do it anyway, because it's awesome. I know people are pushing you and nudging you and pushing you and nudging you. I can see who two of them are. And they're right. But you know it. Stop fighting it. Just do it. It's all good. I don't want to expose those secrets and some of the plans, because that's on you, my friend. But you got it. In your own words, you got this. So run with it. It's fun. There's like a party and some banners and some streamers and lots of lights. And it's just waiting for you to arrive. So jump in there and claim that party for yourself. All right, you guys, we got just a couple of minutes left. Once again, thank y'all so much for sharing your stories and sharing your time with me this evening. DeEtte will be back next week at 6 o'clock on Tuesday evening. She will also be back with Schooled Through Spirit on Monday morning. So pop in and join her with those new guests and all of that fun, unfiltered DeEtte that we've all come to love and respect so much. I missed seeing her Monday morning, so I had to watch the show last night. I don't let it get very far away from me. Stick around though, you guys. I know I'm wrapping up this show real quick, but stick around, because coming on at 7 o'clock is Seeing Beyond. No, what day is today? Today's Tuesday, Moment to Moment with Linda Hope at 7 o'clock. I am so used to my 10 o'clock shot on Wednesdays. I can't find where I'm at here. 7 o'clock after me tonight is Moment to Moment with Linda Hope, and she is followed by Paranormal Pete with our very own Pete Orbea. Thanks, Tim. He says if DeEtte ever needs another day off, raise your hand because this has been great. And I got to tell you, thanks, Tim, for that. I appreciate it so much. DeEtte asked me if I would come in and guest host for her this evening. And my knee-jerk response was, I don't know. And then, of course, I had to say, well, yeah, I'd love to. So thank you, DeEtte, for the honor of being here on your show this evening and taking up your time and space. Thank you guys all for joining me and sharing your stories with me and listening to mine as well. I will see you all tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock for self-care. What's paranormal got to do with that? We're going to talk about some paranormal based, I think, because we don't all understand neurology, right? It's all still kind of a mystery to us, to Western science, but we got some neurotechnology to chat about tomorrow that has made huge differences for me and for my guest, Noelle LaLively. In the meantime, once again, 7 o'clock this evening, I got to get my cheat sheet, Moment to Moment with Linda Hope. And then again, Pete Orbea comes back on with us at 10 o'clock tonight. Thank you once again for joining us here for Unfiltered with DeEtte Ranae. I was your guest host, Deidre Sanford. You are watching WLTK-DB Talk Radio. Have a great night, y'all. Welcome to November.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.